Welcome to the Questions and Maps video PowerPoint. This presentation is designed to help you formulate research questions and think through how to map out your research process so that your project is successful. To start off, of course, we're going to go to our Ninja rules and choose your weapon, which was Rule 2. It's about logical, sufficient, relevant information. So the first thing you're going to do as you begin to set up your research plan to get you the data and information you need is you're going to take inventory. You're going to determine what information you need to gather by establishing research questions. Once you've established these questions, you're going to choose the right methodology for the questions that you need to answer. Then, as you go through your research, analyze and ask more questions. Refine your path of inquiry as patterns and trends emerge. The next couple of slides are going to take you through how to ask the questions and how you develop a plan to then complete your research. Because without good questions and a map, you can feel like a flea on the back of a dog, completely lost in a forest of the unidentifiable. When you initially begin the process of choosing research questions, you first need to consider your purpose. If you don't think about the purpose and the problem you're trying to solve as you formulate your questions will be useless. It seems obvious, but don't forget that step. Then, you want to think about how you're going to identify your options. To do this, brainstorm. You can use clustering or mind maps to help you do this. List all of the ideas and topics and questions that you have, and then begin to tag and define them. This will help you figure out what are the larger categories and what are the big questions that we need answered. Then you're going to formulate your questions and evaluate your questions. As you evaluate your questions, ask yourself, will this help me solve the problem? Why will this help me solve the problem? And how will it help me solve the problem? You want to narrow your research questions down to maybe 3 or 5 driving questions. These questions should be substantial but specific enough to be useful. After establishing 3 to 5 research questions, you're going to figure out how to answer these questions. You're going to create a research plan. This will require developing an action plan for each question. As you develop this action plan, you should consider the information that you need to collect, as well as the resources you may need to execute your plan. For example, if I'm looking to figure out how many students absolutely love watching these video PowerPoints, how am I going to collect this information? Should I go around the class and ask the students by a show of hands? Should I hand out a paper survey? Maybe I could use an electronic survey collection tool. All of these are ways I could collect this information. Which one is going to be most useful in this situation? And then what resources will I need to execute this plan? If I'm going to collect surveys by handing out paper surveys in class, do I have access to a printer, copier? How many copies will I need? Do I have the money to make those copies? Or if I'm sending it through an electronic survey instrument, do I need to establish an account, or is there one at the university that's at my disposal? Having found the answer to these questions, I can then go on to consider who needs to be involved in the collection process, how long it's going to take me to gather this information, and if there's any costs involved. I need to consider these because if I don't know who needs to be there, I might not be able to execute my plan effectively. If I don't know how long it's going to take, I can't build it into my overall project plan with adequate time, and I may not have the research completed in time for my final project deliverable. And finally, if there's any costs involved, I need to know ahead of time in order to plan. So don't get caught in a hairy spot. Ask the right questions, make a plan before you try to execute.